Welcome back. That was a good interview by King. I hope you enjoyed it. And if you enjoyed that interview, of course, you enjoyed this one as well. But it is our Motivational Mondays edition of GMG Plus. We are live on Metro Television. And it is said that comprehensive sexuality education is legitimate. It is very important that every child knows about it. And if you're a child and you keep asking about your sexuality, it's not a sin. It doesn't mean you are bad. It only means you ought to be taught, and every child has to know about it. It is very important for our children, for our kids, for our young ones to know everything about sexuality education. So today we talk about comprehensive sexuality education, and my guest, he is the National Program Officer of UNESCO, Carl Ampa. Carl, welcome to GMG Plus.
Thank you, Jackie.
I know I'll definitely learn a lot, and my viewers will learn a lot as well by the end of this interview.
Okay.
But sexuality education, one would ask, what's the difference between sexuality education and sex education?
Depending on how the terminology goes, you know, some people might want to believe that you are promoting the idea of people going to have sex or young people going to have sex. That's not the idea at all. With comprehensive sexuality education, the idea is to empower young people, provide them the skills, the relevant information, accurate scientific information they need to be able to have a healthy, healthy lives. So, comprehensive sexuality education comes from that context.
Okay, so how,
and it is rights-based.
So how would you define sexuality education, having, you know, given us the difference between sex education and sexuality education?
Okay, so this is curriculum-based, so it is very structured, and it deals with the cognitive aspects of young people. It looks at their emotions, and it also looks at their physical beings connected to sexuality. And it is important that this is taught systematically, just like you teach any subject in school, and hopefully incrementally, because what you're going to teach a 5-year-old is not the same as what you're going to be giving to an 18-year-old.
So since we started talking about age, what is the right age bracket to start talking about sexuality with your kid or a child?
Okay, technically, it starts at around 5 years.
5?
But, yes.
Wow.
That early, because at that time the children are beginning to discover themselves and they are beginning to ask certain questions, and I think it's important that we provide them with the truthful and accurate information instead of, you know, hiding things and letting them find out later. Why not give them the right information so that, you know, they're better prepared?
They're better prepared.
Yeah.
But so what is the purpose of sexuality education? I'm sure a lot of parents will say that, oh, I don't want to spoil my child, and so I won't teach him or her. I don't want to talk about sexuality or sex. Well, our parents will say sex education, or even, you know, a lot of us who don't know the difference will say sex education. But what is the purpose of sexuality education in today's world? Let
me give you, some stats. 34% of young people now know have not the accurate knowledge about HIV prevention.
Wow.
Okay, you also have about 60% of young girls who, when they are menstruating, don't even know what's happening to them. I have a friend, you know, right from primary school, and she tells me that when she was having her menses, she thought she was going to die, so she had to use iodine to try and, you know, clean up, because she thought she had a sore. So if she had the right kind of information, she wouldn't have been doing that. Okay, so it is very important that the conflicting kind of information that young people have, they are giving their accurate information that will help them and dispel all notions that do not help them. Again, sexuality education does not promote having sex. Okay, we also know that abstinence-only programs are not effective. Some people would abstain, others will not. So if people are not going to abstain, then you need to also help them. And we also realize that gender-focused programs are more rewarding, or they provide better results or outcomes, because then you're able to segregate them into male needs, female needs, because the needs of boys are completely different from that of girls. Instead of being gender blind, if you're gender blind, you don't help people.
I think since you've mentioned male and female, in our setting, in the Ghanaian setting, when we say sexuality education or even sex education, the first thought is our girl child. The first, you know, everybody wants to think about the girl child first, but the men or the guys also need sexuality education.
Exactly. I mean, you've hit the nail right on the head. That's why we're looking at gender, and gender is both. We have both genders, male and female. So even though females have been disproportionately being affected by, if you talk about HIV and AIDS, for example, we also need the male side, because it takes two to tango. It's the males, for example, who impregnate the girls, because if we are looking at comprehensive sexuality education, having that in place also helps reduce unintended pregnancies. But a girl cannot get pregnant on her own. Yeah, so whilst we deal with the females, we also help the males to understand and love the females, be protective, and rather not be people who would abuse them.
Right. So sexuality education, comprehensive sexuality education, where should the education start from? From home or from school?
Good point. Every person is born into a home with parents. So parents need to start. Children are born into the home before they get to school. I mean, school provides another level. So if the parent is incapable of doing that, then the child is going to get the information from other places. And if the child is not able to get the accurate information from school, they're going to get it from friends. And if the friends provide wrong information, that's dangerous. For me, I can use myself as an example. When I was 12 years old, my parents sat me down and told me, look, you need to wait. The right girl will come along, and make sure you don't mess up. And this is what is going to happen to you. I mean, the whole spectrum was laid out for me. So it became very, very clear in terms of the choices I had to make and being responsible. That's one of the things of CSE, to let young people be responsible for their lives.
Right. But per your experience, does comprehensive sexuality education, does it work?
It does. It really does, because you're providing accurate information to young people. It helps them make responsible choices, and if they do make the responsible choices, for example, it will make sure that girls can stay in school. If they get in sticky situations with some, for want of a better word, unscrupulous men who may want to take advantage of them, they know
what to do.
They know what to do, because they can tell that the conversation is going from one level to another, and they know where it's leading, and they can then say no and have the willpower to leave. Other than that, you'll be taken advantage of. So we see in the schools, in some situations where we're having school-related gender-based violence, some teachers are taking advantage of the young girls. And I'm sure it's also the case in some of the other female schools.
Right. I want you to actually tell the parents something. If a child constantly is always asking about her sexuality, asking, Mommy, why this? Oh, I'll tell you later, I'll tell you later. I mean, why do you think our parents do that? And I want you to advise our parents. I'm sure they're watching. It doesn't make me a bad child if I want to know why I'm menstruating, or why blood is coming out, or why, say, if I'm a guy at dawn, things happen to me. It doesn't make me bad, does it?
It doesn't. It doesn't, because it's part of the human condition, if I have to put it like that. It's part of the physiological responses that normal human beings have. So if a young person is seeing these things, then the parents should be able to help them. If you don't, they are going to find the information elsewhere. And that could be disastrous. So I would encourage parents, if you are uncomfortable talking about your children, on issues of sexuality, perhaps what you need to do is try and find, other people who have done it and try to learn from them. These days you can go online, you can get all the information that you need. You just also have to be very bold. We have a daughter, and we talk to her about everything. So she knows. For example, we're saying, make sure you don't stay in a room with a guy. You understand? Don't make sure you don't sit on any guy. I hope you understand what I mean. We are not saying that to make her afraid of men, but just to make sure that she knows the right things to do at the right time. Because
the parents actually feel that once they start talking about it with you, you'd want to explore, or you want to know what it is. Okay, daddy is saying I shouldn't do it. Why is daddy saying I shouldn't do it? Let me try it. You know, so is that what is making our parents do less when it comes to sexuality education?
Perhaps, and also I'm sure some cultural things where usually here people are not open about, you know, things to do with sex, sexuality. People are not free to talk, and once that happens, then you know, everything is put in a cage, and you actually do not help the young people because they are curious, they want to find things out. Why don't you help them to make the better choices that would actually help them to have healthy lives?
In helping them, should you also try and scare them a bit? That, oh, when you sleep with a guy, you get pregnant. Oh, when you do this, you can get HIV/AIDS. Or this would happen. Should you put a little bit of fear in them?
I'm throwing the question back to you. Is it true or not?
Well, it's true.
If you sleep with a guy, the possibility of getting pregnant is high, especially if you are ovulating or you are even in your menses. It's possible, so it's real. And you have to let the children know that there are consequences for certain choices they take, you know, and it can affect you the rest of your life. Some have been raped through no fault of theirs, and you know, it stays with them throughout. Perhaps if they had had CSE, things could have changed. I'm
saying that because that's what I was told, that if you do this, you get pregnant too. So stay away, you know, and it has helped me, you know. So, but finally, before we talk about the high-level dialogue, what are some of the things young people want to know about their sexuality? What are some of the questions they've been asking?
I think there's the issue of protection. In the schools in Ghana, for example, the Ministry of Education does not advocate for condom use and all of that. That is not part of their remit. But if you go to the Ministry of Health, where the services are provided, you know, if a young person needs to, then they could get help from that angle. But we are also not saying that young people should go and do this. But if they have to, then you know, there's help, and better do it the right way so that they don't
have issues or problems at the end of
their lives.
Right, the protection, we're all concerned about it. But let's move straight into the high-level dialogue. Tell us about the high-level dialogue.
Okay, so this is a dialogue that is bringing together several ministers of education and health from across, you know, sub-Saharan Africa, you know, Eastern and Southern Africa and Western Central Africa. The idea is that Eastern and Southern Africa have already had a political commitment on CSE. So we want to have that replicated in Western Central Africa, and this has been spearheaded by UNESCO. Of course, some of the other sister UN agencies have been supporting one way or the other. And for Eastern and Southern Africa, because the ministers have already taken that step, we want the ministers here to also start dialoguing, learn from them, and see whether within a year or two there can be a commitment in the Western Central Africa. So that is the ministerial commitment aspect of the program. And again, within it, we're going to launch a program called the O3, and it has to do with our lives, our rights, and our future for the young people. That's why we have the 3 O's: O, our lives, our future. And this program basically supports national institutions in the work that they are doing already on comprehensive sexuality education. And thankfully, Ghana is one of them. Ghana is really quite out there as far as CSE is concerned, even reaching to people with disability, which is a good thing, because the SDGs is telling us don't leave anyone behind. So that will be it. And then there is a media campaign that UNESCO has started to support CSE globally. And Ghana was chosen as one of the countries, you know, to support this. But that would also be, it's already been launched in Paris, but it will be also debuted here.
That's all happening on the 30th of January. This Wednesday.
Yes.
Is it open to the public?
Invitations have been sent out. That includes the media, it includes policymakers, it includes civil society and other concerned stakeholders, sister UN agencies, the diplomatic development partners.
Right. Okay, I'm sure I'll be there to support. I'll be there on Wednesday, definitely be there to support.
We need you to send the information out so that people can have accurate information. I think for us that's the bottom line.
That's the most important. Yeah. And of course information will be sent out. You have no problem about that. Thank you so much, Carl Ampao. It has been very educative. I have learned a lot and I'm sure you enjoyed yourself as well.
It's good. Thank you, Jackie.
Thank you too, Carl. But I'm sure you at home you've learned a lot, and if you're a parent, please talk to your kids about their sexuality. Comprehensive sexuality education is very important. And if you're a child and you're asking, don't worry, don't let anybody tell you you're a bad child. You are not bad, you just want to know about it. And anyways, you need to be taught about it, so don't you worry. We'll give you more information on it, but I'm sure your mommy is watching and she will talk to you right after this show. This has been GMG Plus. We're not done yet. Click is up next, but right now, enjoy Jay Gate, My Love.